Hey guys, welcome to the Toy Vox. We got some breaking news today. I'm super excited for these. Joy Toy just revealed the new Black Templar wave, so we got 4 figures to look at today. One of those being a Dreadnought, so let's go ahead and get started. And the first figure we're going to look at here is that Black Templar's Redemptor Dreadnought. We've got a couple Redemptors now, might as well throw one in there for Black Templar. So here's the frontal detail display. We've got a close-up of his laser cannon, the really cool deco on his knee, the cannon that sits on top of the Dreadnought, as well as a close-up of the sarcophagus. Most of the Redemptors at this point are just a reuse, just getting in at another chapter. But again, if you're a Black Templars fan, you got to have that Dreadnought. Here's the shot of the back where you can kind of see some of those joints, some of the added details. He's got that little minigun on his left arm. You can see the smokestacks. But again, it's kind of all the same at this time. But again, I'm treating this just like it's your first time seeing it. Here's that front shot. This guy is great, and he's pretty big as well. You know, if you're looking to display him, you're going to need every bit of a 13-inch clearance from head to toe with that cannon attached. That cannon on top does come off, so if you're got about like a 12-inch clearance, pop that cannon off and you'll be able to slide him on in. Here's an action pose. You can see those articulated fingers. They are, I believe it's 3 points of articulation for those, so you can close it and make a fist, as well as put some characters, or at least one character in there, and kind of have him holding it up in the air. There is a lot of articulation points on this figure. I will say, for anyone that doesn't have a Dreadnought, to be careful with those pistons in the crotch area. I've seen some people break them. Sometimes the pistons will slide out. You can slide them back in. The feet are on a ball joint system. The toes do articulate. So there is a lot going on here. For posing, the little cannons that are next to the sarcophagus, one on each side, those do rotate up and down. So there's a lot here. It's not going to be like a statuesque figure. You can pose him in all types of different ways. I've seen a few people even get this almost in that Iron Man landing pose, the superhero pose that most people call that. Retail price, you're probably going to be looking at around between 160 and 190, depending on where you go. Let's go ahead and look at the opening of the sarcophagus. I'll get back into pricing here in a minute, but that does open up, as you can see here, to show the actual sarcophagus. Now that piece, you can slide it out. There's nothing behind it. For whatever reason why you would want to slide it out, I don't know. If maybe you have it posed up where there was an explosion and the sarcophagus fell off. But there's no figure behind that. There's no head behind that. When you do pull that off, you're just going to see 2 plug holes, and that's it. But the detail here is fantastic. We're already used to that. The price, so like I was saying about the price, you're looking at between 160 to 190, maybe 199 if you go to somebody like Sideshow. Just try your best to go to a Chinese retailer. The reason why I say that is not because I'm pushing anyone more than anyone else. It's just there's so many figures here, and if you're trying to get them all or most of them or stick to a certain chapter, there's possibilities of saving a lot of money. Most retailers are going to mark this guy up specifically by probably 30 to 35% so they can make some money. I understand it. Capitalism is a thing. I want the collector to save some cash. That is super important. If you save $30 on this guy, that's a whole nother figure. So I want to, try and help you guys save some money. Here's our first figure. This is the Black Templar's Emperor's Champion. This guy is great. No need to sit on this image. Here is our frontal detail display where we can see that crown on his head, the really cool hilt on his sword. You got the ribbons flying in the wind on one of his sigils. You can see that charm on his waist belt. I do like that it says Excelsior on his sword. I'm sure that references something super important. The only thing I think of is Stan Lee, so I do like that. Here is the detailed display shot of front and back, where again you can see those ribbons flailing off of his backpack. He's got a little sigil on his chest. Do be careful of that. I've seen some figures where it falls off. It does not plug back in. You would almost need to glue that back on if it does break. We've got that really nice loincloth on the front. Again, that's a pliable material. Now, going back to the ribbon, that more than likely is going to be the same material as his loincloth, so it is pliable. But don't sit there and try and move it around too much because you might break it loose from the backpack. It will. It's a soft rubber, so if you're moving your figure around, it's not a hard plastic, so you don't have to worry about breaking it. But there is obviously that weak spot at the backpack, so do be careful of that. So here's a really nice action pose, akin to the miniature itself, which is really cool. He's got the sword up in the air, almost like He-Man. I do like this figure. This for me is a definite pickup. For some reason, that crown on his head, I love it. It's so cool. You can see there's a chain, that he has his sword connected to his wrist, so he doesn't lose his weapon in battle. There is something in his hand. You might be able to tell me what that is. I'm not really sure. So here's his loadout. We've got a charm, we've got a holstered pistol, we've got a little canister there where he might keep notes from his girlfriend, we've got his backpack, his sword with that chain attached. So real quick, that chain does not come off the hilt of that sword. Be careful there. I'm going to assume that is some pliable rubber, just like his tunic. If you break that chain off of that sword, you're going to have to glue it on. That's going to be a pain in the ass. So just be careful with that. We've got his pistol with the removable magazine. If you didn't know on your figures, go run and check it out. The magazines do come out, which is a really cool added detail. And this figure specifically, we're looking at 4 different hands. No fists, no pointing fingers, no stop or waving hands, which, that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. 4 hands is still better than just 2, so I do appreciate that. So there's a lot here. His shoulder pauldrons are really cool. They're decked out. Seeing little belt buckles on his shin guards, which is nice. This is a great figure. And this picture, again, if you're not really aware of these figures, this is a good thing to point out. If you look at his belt, to his right, your left, you're going to see a little hole. So on that golden charm that's next to the holstered pistol, there's going to be a little knob on that plugs right in there. But you don't have to put that there. So the holstered pistol is going to have the same thing. That could key in that hole. The little brown canister, that could go there as well. So there's a lot of mix and match here. There's not much difference in this figure to where you could buy multiples. But at the same time, you could use this guy as an army builder. You could have a sword in his hand or just the pistol. Another thing to note, most of their weapons have that wrist chain to keep them on the figure as far as lore goes. His pistol does not have that, so I'm sure there's a few people out there that scream an inaccuracy there. But nonetheless, this is a great figure. The next one is going to be Marshall, the Black Templar's Marshall. This guy is really cool looking. I am going to go ahead and start by saying this. If you notice his face sculpt, there's a lot of people that call that a smile or a grimace, or maybe he's even scared or saw something gnarly. That face sculpt is being reworked. Looking at the rework picture right now, where you can definitely tell that it's more of a sad face. So it's more of an angry face as opposed to the happy face. So that is being reworked. I personally liked the original face for some reason. It looks angrier, especially with that skeleton behind him on his backpack. I'm not sure if they're going to include both heads, but more than likely we'll just get that revision, which is fine. So here's that detailed frontal display where we got a really good up-close shot of the top of his backpack, and man, do I love that. That's just that skeleton sitting there of some poor soul that just got destroyed on the battlefield and turned into a sign to instill fear on your enemies. That's just badass. We've got a close-up shot of his pulse rifle or his laser rifle. Again, in the comments, tell me why I'm wrong. I know I am. We've got a close-up of his left pauldron, which looks great, as well as the hilt of his sword with that skull on there. Again, you'll see in this one, his pistol has that chain linking to his wrist. Let's go ahead and look at the detailed front and back shots where you can see that backpack, that cape. Man, this guy's got a lot going on. He as well has those ribbons flying all over the place. Much like the loincloth, the cape is a pliable material. There's no wires in it. It is rubber, but it's a very soft, pliable rubber that you can move out of the way when posing. So there is a lot going on here. This figure is very busy. Man, just look at that skeleton on his backpack. That is my favorite. I'm going to go ahead and say it now. As of right now, this is going to be my favorite figure. It's just so metal. Here's that action pose. He's got his pistol up. He's got that grimace on that face, which again is going to be changing. That belt, man, with all those skulls inside of it. There's a lot to take in on this figure. So again, he's got those weapons chained to his wrist. You're probably wondering how those go on there. So you just pop the hands off. That bigger piece will just slide over onto his wrist gauntlet, slap the hand back in, and you are good to go. So here's his loadout. He does come with a helmet. It does leave a little bit of options for you to army build. If you wanted to, you could leave that cape off, slap the helmet on. It's now technically a different character. You know, he is torso-wise going to look the same. There's not a whole lot that you can take off of this figure. But he looks great. You know, that cape pops on, and then right behind it, the backpack goes on, which leaves that cape in place. Again, like the Emperor's Champion, be careful of the ribbons on his backpack. You don't want to break that off. As well as that sigil on his left shoulder pauldron, be careful of that. Other than that, it looks like everything is pretty much permanently tied into this figure. That charm on his waist is permanently attached. So there's not going to be a lot of swappable, or really, there are no swappable items for his waist, which is kind of good. You know, there's parts you don't have to worry about. Now, this character, we've got 6 hands. So we do have that pointing finger gesture. We do have a fist. We've got that waving hand, which is great for telling stories with your figure posing, as well as chains, which that chain does show that it does plug into that pistol, slides over his wrist, so this is all great. This is a great figure. Again, this is probably going to be my favorite to date. Okay, and so the last figure is the Black Templar Sword Brethren. He, again, very busy, has a lot going on here. Those shoulder pauldrons are mad looking. Let's go ahead and flip over into the detailed frontal display, where we've got a closer shot of his shoulder, those ribbons that are going over his chest, his sword hilt, and his helmet, which looks fantastic. Let's go ahead and look at that front and back display. Again, that cape, you know the deal. Same as his tunic and those ribbons. It's a pliable rubber material. The more and more that I look at these Black Templars, the more I think that I need to go all in on these guys. There's something so cool about like an uber religious chapter that includes so much death in it. It's very, very cool. Let's go ahead and look at this really cool action pose. You can see that, I don't know if that's a candle that's sitting on top of his backpack, but that's a really nice touch. He's got that iron cross on his forehead, throwing out his sword. You can see that action hand in the background. That really tells a nice story on what this figure is doing. The tunic on front is going to be placed in with a ball peg, so that will swivel around side to side if you need to move it out of your way during posing. So here's his loadout. He comes with a holstered pistol, a little canister. He's got his backpack, a cape, that plasma pistol. But you will see he has those 2 chains. Now that chain closest to the bottom of this photo, that one is for the pistol. The other chain is for the sword. So that one, it looks like you can slide up over the hilt, which is nice. So if you don't want that chain there, you do have that option. You don't have to worry about breaking it. We also have 6 total hands here, which is great. Got that pointing hand, that waving hand. There's a lot here. This is a great figure. So pricing seems that it is starting to go up. I would probably price these 3 figures between the $55 and $65 range, which is pretty high. Try and find a Chinese market, where you can save some money. Because again, if you go to someone like Sideshow, Big Bad Toy Store, they're probably going to have these guys at every bit of 70, 75, maybe 65. But any money that you can save is obviously money earned towards another figure. So try and find yourself a deal. But that is the Black Templar wave. Let's go ahead and jump into the teasers. We've got some Battle Sister teasers. Now these are just computerly sculpted renders. But the Battle Sisters, I believe, they're going to be revealed here soon. Rob C. in the Discord mentioned from October 31st up until November 11th, we're going to have at least 1 reveal a day. Some days we might have more than that, but there are a lot of reveals coming up, so get ready for that. Here are the Battle Sister head sculpts that we get to look at. Here's one with her mask over her face. This one looks great. The next one is going to be her with that scope on her eye. This is, man, I'm really excited for these, and everyone's been waiting. It almost seems like the reveal dates for these just kept getting pushed back and pushed back. We were told about Battle Sisters, God, I want to say it was back in February or March, and we've just been waiting, and it looks like we're finally going to at least get to see some work in progress right before these are revealed in early November. Here's another figure with a really nice scar over her face. Here's a sculpt, no scar on her face, hair down. She looks fantastic. And here's that last head sculpt. She's got that hood over her head covering her eyes. This is really cool. There was another sculpt. I'm not putting it on here. It showed one of the Battle Sisters with the bald head. That head sculpt was not approved. You can go ahead and throw it in the rumor mill that maybe it will get included as a Chinese exclusive. Maybe it won't. One other thing that was not mentioned, if any of these heads being shown are exclusives or not. I really hope they're not. Those exclusive heads they're going to be a bitch to chase down. And for those of you that manage to get them, hold on to them. Don't let those go, because you're really going to regret that in the future. And that's our video, guys. 4 new additions to the Black Templar chapter, as well as some really cool previews of the Battle Sisters head sculpts. Thank you for joining in. Please like and subscribe. More likes and subs that I get, the more people that can watch these videos. Also, please head over to Cool Toys Club's website, make a purchase, or just check them out. It's a really good service run by Loy Chen. He's an amazing person. So check me out at JoyToy Warhammer on Twitter, or at JoyToy Warhammer on TikTok. If you go to the bio in the Twitter, there is a link that goes into the Discord. It is free to join. We currently have a giveaway going on right now that has 3 days left. We're going to have another giveaway that is sponsored by Cool Toys Club. That is going to be starting November 6th. And then after that one, there is a third giveaway that is going to be done by one of our Discord members, Cade, who has been fantastic. The one that's going currently is also by him. It's really nice to see collectors giving back to the community. I really love to see it. So come on in, join the Discord. Giveaways are free to enter. They're free to everyone. Shipped to you also for free anywhere around the world. So that's our video, guys. Thank you for tuning in. There's going to be a ton of videos this week with all these reveals. So I will see you then.